Plenty to explore this weekend out of the Trump White House. Joining us here in New York, Republican strategist Evan Siegfried. In Atlanta, Democratic strategist Theron Johnson. And from Washington, Axios national political reporter Jonathan Swan. Theron, I want to just start with you right out of the gate. Tell me about this election of Tom Perez as DNC chair. Does he have any hope of bringing the party together?
Absolutely. Listen, this is something that we all work together to get to this day. I thought if you listen to former Labor Secretary Perez's speech, it was a speech of unity. He was calling for people to unite and let's go out here and really take our message to the voters and start beginning to really find the resources and the talent to really be contested in the midterms. Now, the other thing that's really going on behind the scenes is that a lot of people from Secretary Perez's campaign, particularly Emmy Ruiz, who was the person who ran this campaign, they're already reaching out to Keith Ellison supporters, making sure that they are in the room as far as putting together the plan as we move forward.
Evan, let me turn to you on this issue. As a Republican strategist, what do you think Tom Perez's chances are? You've compared the energy right now in the Democratic Party to likening it to the Tea Party. What are his chances of being able to corral that and point it in the right direction?
Well, if he can get the people who are in the indivisible movement, the resistance as they call themselves, to harness that energy toward the 2018 midterms, that's a big problem for Republicans. I actually think Republicans lost out in this race by not having Keith Ellison selected. Tom Perez is much more willing to look at how do we get the message out to swing voters who might be more uncomfortable and willing to come over and vote for a Democratic candidate. At the same time, Tom Perez faces a huge challenge. 3 of the last 4 elections at the federal level have been Republican waves, seeing over 1,000 seats in the House, the Senate, governorships, and state legislatures flip from Democrat to Republican. So they've got to put a message out that resonates with the American people, and Tom Perez is now tasked with doing that.
It's a huge job. I want to change topics just quickly here. And Jonathan, I want to go to you. What do you make of Congressman Issa's comments about a special prosecutor?
They're important and unwelcome for the White House. This is something that has been bubbling up for a number of weeks. We know the White House is intensely concerned about that, and they may have made a grave error in pressuring or at least asking officials who are connected with the investigation or involved in the intelligence community to talk to reporters. I mean, it now raises really serious questions about independence. So the fact that you've got a Republican in the House of Darrell Issa's stature calling for this, it's going to just add to the pressure. And I suspect you'll have some senators, Republican senators in the next couple of days echoing that call.
Well, staying with you on that point, actually, for just a moment, what is your impression of that strategy of trying to enlist help? I mean, clearly the White House feels that those reports on the contacts during the campaign with Russia were overblown. They were looking for some support. Did they go about it the right way?
Well, there's 2 parts to this. One is you have to sympathize with their position, because if you have an senior FBI official and there's real questions about whether this is appropriate, in private saying to them that there are factual errors, that this is nonsense or whatever colourful language he used, well, the natural human reaction is obviously wanting to get that information out and to fight back. But there has to be the overriding goal has to be independence, and it has to be not weighing in to something that is supposed to be, Chinese walled from the White House. So my sense is that they're very uneasy about this inside the White House at the moment, and there are certainly some who think they've made a big mistake.
On that note, Theron, can we expect Democrats to hammer away at this idea of a special prosecutor?
Absolutely. I mean, it's something that shows that there's clearly no coordination with the White House and what other folks are doing. So this is a key issue, especially coming off of this DNC chair's race, that Democrats can really pound the Republicans on this issue.
I want to change topics again and turn to you, Evan. There's a report out that the new NSA for Trump, McMaster, held a meeting with his NSC staff, and he said that the label radical Islamic terrorism is not helpful because terrorists are, quote, un-Islamic. This, as President Trump seems to use that phrase repeatedly when he makes comments in public. Is this difference of opinion a serious issue for them?
Well, I think it really is whether or not the president listens to his new national security advisor. H.R. McMaster, he is unbelievably qualified, and both sides of the aisle have not disputed that. I believe he's absolutely correct that anybody who is a terrorist is not an Islamist. That's against the fundamentals of Islam. But will the president listen to him? And I think we've seen from him meeting with other generals, be they present or the former, he's willing to hear them out. When he met with Defense Secretary Mattis in the transition, he got him to flip on torture in an hour. So hopefully McMaster keeps the president's ear and stays away from using this language.